Welcome back to another edition of our Cornhusker conversation. Today, welcome in Husker freshman Wan'Dale Robinson. You're about halfway through your first college season. It's kind of going quick. What have you made of this college thing so far?
It's just been a blast the whole time. I couldn't expect it to be more. Everything's been great so far, so I've loved it every bit.
You jumped right in. Your really big role was starting in the Illinois game in Big Ten play, and you've had a few Big Ten games. What's it like playing in the Big Ten conference compared to what maybe you thought?
It's definitely a little different. Obviously guys were like, hey, guys are going to come harder, guys are faster and things like that. So just getting acclimated to it, it wasn't that hard, but still going every week, just having to get better.
You knew you were going to come in and have a role right away, but there's always a reality check for the freshmen when they get to college. Maybe in a game or in a practice, you're like, whoa, these are different breed of athletes. For you, when was it kind of the reality check that this isn't the same as high school?
During spring ball. So, obviously once we got pads on and then bullets started flying and I was like, all right, stuff's different. But it took me about a week or two and then I was really acclimated to the game. And so the speed of the game started to slow down and it's already starting to slow down even more.
Was there a moment for you where you're like, okay, I can do this? Maybe you busted off a big run or made a nice catch where it felt like stuff you've been doing your entire career?
Anytime I get the ball in my hands, I feel like I can do any of those things. That's kind of always been my motto. That's kind of what I've lived by anytime I play football. So really just anytime I have the ball in my hands, just try to make a play.
Tell us about your first days playing football. You're not the biggest of dudes, and I have to imagine that was something your whole life. But when you first got started in it, what was it about football that you really liked?
I just loved everything about it. It was kind of one of those things that just hit off, and I was good at from the moment I started. And my dad put a ball in my hands, and it was over after that, and I've loved it ever since.
You obviously stuck with it, but then there comes a moment typically when you have your level of skill that you start taking it seriously, and you could probably make a livelihood out of it. When was that moment for you that you are really good at it and it's something that you want to focus on and take seriously?
Around my sophomore year, that was because I was still playing baseball as well, so I was debating on if I was going to go to play college baseball or college football, and I just came to the point I was like, I'm just going to go play college football and stopped playing baseball, just started training all year round for football, and at that point in time, that's whenever I realized it.
You came here looking pretty good physically, and I know your dad has a huge impact on your life. What was the training like in high school? You seem to be, some guys get to college and they're figuring out how to lift weights for the first time.
I've been lifting weights since probably my freshman year now. My dad's always been training me, just doing everything some of the same stuff I've done here. Not as hard, but it's still pretty hard.
Your relationship with your dad is very public, and he's obviously active on social media, and it's really cool to see a parent perspective. What's his relationship like with you? Maybe not in a dad role, but just as a supporter role. Watching you do this and going through your recruitment and playing high school ball. Like seeing him watch you live out your dreams.
He just wants the best for me. He's always just giving me advice about anything that I can do better, anything. If I've done something wrong, he's just always trying to help me out with whatever. He's never tried to be too much of a sports dad or anything like that and contact coaches or anything like that. So he's always just been there for me.
Making the decision to come to college is always a hard one for any athlete, especially when everybody wants you. When you first started going through your recruiting process, maybe got your first letter and schools started showing interest, what was kind of your reaction of how you were going to approach this thing?
I was like, I don't know what to do. Really, that was really what I did. And then as time went on and got to meet a lot of people that have went through the process, and they just started giving me advice about how I should go about it and how I should just take the process.
You did, and you got to take some official visits. To you, the more you kind of invested your time in it, what was important to you in a college, in a coach, in a relationship, whatever it was that, you could able to start whittle it down to things that were really, truly important?
Just the place that felt like family to me, where I knew the coaching staff was really going to value me and I wasn't just going to be treated like another athlete or anything like that. The people around the city that Lincoln this is the best place that I've visited with the people and how much they care about each other and love each other.
What was your first contact like with Nebraska? You talk to athletes all over the country. You're from Kentucky, which is southeast, but you get guys from Florida and California and Texas, like Nebraska. What was your first contact with our school and now your school of what they wanted out of you and your reaction to that?
Well, really, I had actually started talking to these coaches whenever they were at UCF, so I had already kind of talked to them. And then whenever they got here, so obviously started talking to them. And then I came out here. Before I got here, I thought Nebraska was nothing but cornfields and there was nothing here. And then I got here, and it was totally opposite. There's obviously large buildings and everything like that. So this place is just different than everywhere else.
The coach's relationship with you, I mean, obviously at UCF too, that your character kind of fits exactly what they want to do. When they're having conversations with you, what was it about your skill set that they really liked, and that it was kind of a mutual attraction?
Just being versatile, being able to play running back, being able to play receiver in the slot outside, in the backfield, and just do a lot of different things. And that's what I wanted to do coming into college. I wanted to be able to be used all over the place and not just be stuck in one spot and do one certain thing.
You're a recruit that people here were pretty fond of from the get-go, and they'd watch your highlights in high school. When you think back to your high school days now, a few months after the fact, what do you remember most about playing high school ball in Kentucky?
Just playing with the guys that I had always played with since I was, I think, 9. We had all been together. That senior group, we'd been together since we were about 9 years old. So just being able to play with them, that was really the biggest thing. And just having fun, that was really, really, really fun about high school.
And then you have to make the decision to go to college. I know it's tough, hanging the high school pads up for the last time. You ultimately committed to Kentucky, and I know that's your home state. Probably just a decision you couldn't even imagine how difficult that was to make, going to bed every night. What was that like, that transition of committing to Kentucky and then, going to bed every night with that head hit the pillow? What was a typical night with your thought process every single night with just everything that was going on?
I was usually up until around 1 or 2, just about every night, just thinking about it. And just about every night I was thinking about, all right, which place do you actually see yourself being in, and which offense do you see yourself being in, which coach do you see yourself playing for? And ultimately it just came down to I knew I wanted to be here, and I love this place.
We're glad you're here at Nebraska, obviously, but when you finally made that decision and you were at peace with your decision, what was the feeling of just the weight off your shoulders, of just being able to focus on, what a high school athlete should be able to focus on?
It was just relief. I was just free. I was having a lot more fun. I was more relaxed around everybody. Just being around people was a lot better. I didn't have to worry about anybody asking me questions anymore or anything like that. So my decision was done and over with at that point.
And then you get to Lincoln. Tell us about your first few days here on campus. You're meeting your new teammates, you're walking to your classes, and what was it like here on Lincoln the first few days?
Well, the first day I got here on a Sunday, the day right before school got back, and so I got off the plane, and it was really, really cold. I remember that. So I had to check in and get all my stuff, and I actually didn't have any of my clothes yet, so from back home, because they were still being shipped out because I was in Texas for the All-American game. But it was just really, really cold, and I wasn't used to waking up really, really early for lifting yet either. So that was a big difference.
Then you're going to class, and you're being away from home for the first time. I know how important your family is to you. What's that like? Finally being away from home, and you can't just go home anytime you want. It's just a phone call or FaceTime.
I mean, it's really not that bad at this point. Now that I'm used to it, but whenever it first happened, I was a little homesick. But after time, my parents, they were like, "You're gonna be just fine," and I was just fine at that point too.
You mentioned the All-American game. You had a teammate in that game, and everybody saw the hit that he put on you, and we're all thinking, come on, man. Have you talked to Noah about that at all?
Oh, yeah, we talk about it all the time, and I always tell him I'm going to get him back somehow, some way. I don't know how I'm going to get him back yet, but it's going to happen.
That's a pretty cool experience, though, as a high school athlete, and we're fortunate to have a couple of your current teammates on there. When you're invited to something like that, and that's not the only one, there are several, but what's the feeling, of validation? Like, I get to go represent not just yourself, but your family, your school, and even your state.
I mean, it feels really, really good just knowing that people have taken notice and they feel like you're one of the best players in the country, and you have the talent to go showcase it in front of all the other best players in the country as well too.
Do you miss playing baseball?
I do sometimes. Baseball is a game of failure, and I don't like to fail, so that's a big reason why I gave it up too. I was like, I'm getting tired of this.
We've got to see Wan'Dale as a football player, but we've never got to see Wan'Dale as a baseball player. What type of baseball player what'd you play, and what was your skill set on the baseball field?
I played center field, leadoff batter, obviously, and then really a big thing was get on base, steal bases. I mean, I could still hit home runs and stuff like that too. I mean, everybody knows I'm a pretty strong kid. So that was really how I was through baseball, just being able to fly around and go catch a lot of fly balls and run around the bases as well too. Sports
seem like a pretty important thing in your family. I mean, tell us about like kid Wan'Dale, and you're getting into all these things, and mom and dad at home and your friends. Like, when you think back to your earliest sports memories, and like, what were you most attracted to about sports? Like, what was it about it?
I don't even know really. Like the first show I ever watched was the NFL Network. Like that was the first thing I ever sat down and just really watched. And ever since then, I've always either watched SportsCenter, NFL Network, or some type of sports show. So that's just how I've always been. And then I've been competitive ever since then too. I remember my mom always tells me the story about how I quit soccer. I walked off the field and said the referee cheated, and then so I never played soccer again after that.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen in a football game. Well, I mean, you're here at Nebraska, and you're kind of living out your dream right now. And, we talked to you after the game last week with Northwestern. Is this kind of what you thought it would be? Like, is there ever just, like, reflection? You just sit back and trying to take this all? Because there's a lot that's happened to you over the last few months.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just sit back and think, like, this is what I really dreamed about and what I wanted to happen. So everything that's happened, I thought it was going to happen. These coaches, they were preaching that to me while they were recruiting me, too. So it's just been really, really good.
You're probably going to go home for, hopefully not for Christmas. Hopefully you're prepping for a bowl game or a Big Ten championship. But when you do make it home and you're seeing your old friends who probably helped you make your recruiting process a little easier, just sitting back with old friends, what are you going to tell them about this place? They're probably never going to get to come to Lincoln and experience it. But what are you going to tell them about what Nebraska is all about? I
mean, it's just a great place. I really want all my friends to come in and see a game, and so that way they can see this atmosphere, because obviously back home there's really not many atmospheres like this, or there is no atmosphere like this, let me say that. So just being able to tell them all about this place, and just that way they can get some type of feel of what it's like.
The goals for this team, I know Big Ten championship is on the horizon, but day-to-day, how are you guys getting through? You're still establishing a relationship with all your coaches and, learning all this at the same time. But when you're in the meeting rooms and everything, how do you focus on, the end game just day-to-day, and how you guys are approach every day?
Every day we're just trying to get better and better, whether that be on the field, whether that be in the meeting rooms, just figuring out ways to get better, and just so that way we can help our offense and our team be better.
Fast is the motto of this offense, and I know it's that way practicing. It's probably helping it right now. We're not sure the status of Adrian, but if he can't go, Noah's going to be the guy. A typical practice with the rep distribution, I mean, how often do you get to work with Noah and the comfort factor that you're going to have in there if he's the guy?
We usually always work with different quarterbacks in just about any scenario, so whether that be routes on air or whether that be in a team period, anything like that. So we're always getting reps with different quarterbacks, so that way they have a feel with each other. So we all have a feel with each other in case somebody's in the game that's normally not, or something like that. So whenever Noah got in the game, we were all confident and comfortable because Noah had taken first-team reps before.
Let's you go with a question about your head coach. He recruited you to come here and obviously really wanted you here. What do you tell Dad and Mom and friends about what Coach Frost is like? What's this? We see this guy on TV, and you're learning from him every day, and he's going to make you grow up to be a man when you leave here. What do you tell him about Coach Frost?
He's just a great person. I couldn't imagine playing for any other head coach. He really cares about every athlete that we have and every football player that we have. So he's just been a really, really good person for me. Anything I've ever needed, he's always been able to have some type of advice or anything like that.
Wan'Dale, thanks for sitting down with us, man. It's been a pleasure finally watching you here, and it's great watching you finally in Husker Red. Let's have a great rest of the season, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.